Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome in from across the continent today. There are so many of you joining us here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. And I know a lot of you have been here many times before, which is awesome. Welcome back. But if you are new to us, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And you are catching us on such an epic day because we've got one of the coolest topics ever. It's why I did the volcano intro, and I only bring out that bad boy when it's like a really, really cool program. So thank you so much for all your enthusiasm. I want to note before we dive in with the talk, we are going to have a Kahoot today. So between our talk and our Q&A, a little 4-question quiz to test your understanding, have some fun for epic bragging rights on dino knowledge. So feel free to bring that up in a separate tab and we'll keep the learning going midway through the show. Now, I'm so excited because we are going back to a place that we haven't been in years, and that is the Phillip J. Currie Dino Museum. Canada is one of the coolest places on planet Earth for exploring and finding dinosaur fossils. And today we get to go on a tour with an awesome, cool paleontologist, Dr. Emily Bamforth, walking us around the museum, showing us some of the amazing collections that they have and talking about her incredible work digging up fossils. If there's a cooler job than that on planet Earth, I don't know what it is. And so I'm so excited for you to meet Dr. Bamforth. Welcome to the program, and thank you for giving us the chance to tour around today.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Phillip J. Currie Dinosaur Museum. My name is Dr. Bamforth, and I am a paleontologist, which means that I get to study dinosaurs for a job. Best job on the planet. But I'm also a museum curator, so I get to take care of all of the research and collections here at our amazing museum in northern Alberta. So I am in a place called Wembley, Alberta. I think we have a map of that Jesse can bring up for you. So when we think of dinosaurs in Alberta, we tend to think of places like Dinosaur Provincial Park and Drumheller, which are down in the south part of the province. But we have lots of dinosaurs from up here in northern Alberta as well. And so one of our most famous dinosaur sites from up here in the Grand Prairie area, so Wembley's a little town just outside the city of Grand Prairie. One of our most famous sites from around here is called the Pipestone Creek Bone Bed. So if you've never heard of a bone bed before, a bone bed is somewhere where we find lots of, usually dinosaurs, all concentrated in one area. They're lots of fun to dig up. We can find a lot of dinosaur bones just crammed together in one place. That's basically what a bone bed is. So the Pipestone Creek Bone Bed up here in near Wembley, Alberta, is one of the densest dinosaur deposits in all of North America. So we have something like 100 to 300 fossil bones per square meter. That's the kind of density that we find at the Pipestone Creek Bone Bed. And the critter, the dinosaur that we have in Pipestone Creek, is this amazing dinosaur behind me here. This guy here is called a Pachyrhinosaurus. If you've never heard of it, that's okay. A lot of people haven't, but it is one of the coolest dinosaurs on the planet. I, of course, am biased, but I think it's really cool. So Pachyrhinosaurus is a smaller, older cousin of the Triceratops. And if we take a close look at its face here, you can see that instead of having a nose horn like a Triceratops would have, it has this huge bony bump on its nose. That's what we call a boss. So the boss is kind of what makes Pachyrhinosaurus a unique dinosaur. So at the Pipestone Creek Bone Bed, we don't have one, we don't have two, we don't have three dinosaurs. We have hundreds of Pachyrhinosaurus preserved in the Pipestone Creek Bone Bed. And they all have this big bony bump on their nose. They've all got these crazy horns at the back of their frill. This guy behind me here, this is an adult dinosaur, so this is about as big as they get. And if we look down in the corner here, right here, we have our cute little baby Pachyrhinosaurus as well. So that's the other thing that makes the Pipestone Creek Bone Bed really exciting. We have adults, we have babies, we have teenagers, we've got subadults, we've got juveniles, we have all of the age ranges preserved all together in this one place. And that's really cool. Because with dinosaurs, of course, dinosaurs are extinct, so we can't do things like go out and set up camera traps, or we can't do catch and release studies, or we can't go and photograph them in the wild. Everything we know about dinosaurs has to come from the fossil record. And that includes what we know about dinosaur families and how they move together as herds. So the Pipestone Creek Bone Bed preserves a herd of Pachyrhinosaurs. So we think it's family groups, so the big adults with their young and all their teenagers and their subadults, and they're all moving together through a landscape. So we know that this landscape was probably pretty close to an ocean or a seaway. So fun fact, back about 72 million years ago when these guys were around, there was a sea that basically cut North America in half. So here in Alberta, we were on the western half, and so our dinosaurs were actually living pretty close to the sea. So Alberta was beachfront property at one time, believe it or not. That's where our dinosaurs were living. And so the Pipestone Creek herd, again, this big herd of Pachyrhinosaurus, this horned dinosaur, we think were moving, probably migrating seasonally, and they were going up the Western Interior Seaway, and then one terrible day, something happens that wipes out the entire herd. Thousands of animals get wiped out all at once. What killed them? We don't know. That's still a big mystery about Pipestone Creek. We think maybe they got caught in a flash flood or something like that. That's kind of something that happens to a lot of migrating animals today, but we don't really know. All we know is that one day the entire herd is wiped out. It was a really sad day for the dinosaurs, but it was a really great day for paleontologists. So we think that all of these dead dinosaurs were kind of lying out on the floodplain for a little while, long enough that predators and scavengers started to move in and they started to feed on all of those dead dinosaurs. It would be like kind of like a big gigantic buffet for these carnivorous dinosaurs. And as they are feeding on the dead Pachyrhinosaurus, their teeth fall out and get left in the bone bed or get left amongst the rotting carcasses, which eventually would become part of the bone bed. And so 72 million years later, a high school teacher from Grand Prairie by the name of Al Lacusta was walking down Pipestone Creek, and he found the first couple of bones. And he followed them up the hill, and he found the bone deposit that would eventually become the Pipestone Creek bone bed. So we're really grateful to Mr. Al Lacusta. If he hadn't found that bone bed, we would know much, much less about dinosaurs here in northern Alberta. So I'll take you around the corner here. So again, this is our adult Pachyrhinosaurus and our baby. These are casts, these are replicas of real bones. But let's take a look at some of the bones we have on display here. So this display here, these are upper arm bones. These are what are called humerus. So you and I have humeri as well. So dinosaurs did as well. So this one at the end here, this is a great big adult. So this is a really big animal about the size of an Indian elephant. Again, this is a Pachyrhinosaurus. And then we have a smaller one and a smaller one and a smaller one. And finally, a little baby one. So that little baby humerus probably comes from an animal about the size of a German Shepherd. So this shows you how we have a huge size range of Pachyrhinosaurus preserved in the Pipestone Creek bone bed. And again, that helps us to understand how the dinosaurs grew. And again, everything we know about dinosaur growth has to come from the fossil record. So it's really great at a place like Pipestone Creek where we have all of the ages preserved, we can understand how the dinosaurs went from being little babies all the way up to great big adults. So the Pipestone Creek bone bed is one of our coolest bone beds from up here in northern Alberta. It's actually open to the public. So if you were to come and visit us here in Wembley during the summer, you could actually go out to the Pipestone Creek bone bed and you could see us excavating there. Again, there are lots and lots and lots of bones there. We collect every single year, we collect about between 500 and 700 bones from the bone bed. And to date, over 7,000 Pachyrhinosaurus fossils have been collected from Pipestone Creek. So it is a really, really cool bone bed. So that is the Pachyrhinosaurus. But if you think back to what I said about the carnivorous dinosaurs that came in and fed on the carcasses of the Pachyrhinosaurus, I want to show you what one of those dinosaurs looked like. So you can follow me through the gallery here. This is a pretty cool dinosaur. Again, one of my favorites. This big guy here, this is a dinosaur called an Albertosaurus. So a lot of people see this and they instantly think T-Rex, and you're not entirely wrong if you think T-Rex. The Albertosaurus is a smaller, older cousin of the T-Rex. So like T-Rex, it has those little tiny arms that just have the two little fingers. Also, like a T-Rex, it has a big head relative to the size of its body. It also has those the feet with 3 toes on it. So that's a T-Rex feet, or sorry, a Tyrannosaur feature as well. So just like today, how tigers and lions and lynxes and house cats are all part of the cat family, Albertosaurus and T-Rex are all part of the Tyrannosaur family. So Albertosaurus, again, is kind of like a cousin of the T-Rex. but it's actually only about 2/3 of the size of a T-Rex. So if you've ever seen a T-Rex at a museum, T-Rex is an absolutely ginormous dinosaur. It's one of the largest land predators that ever lived on planet Earth. Our Albertosaurus is about 60% of the size of a T-Rex, and it's also a much more agile animal. So you see those great big long legs? That tells us this animal was probably a really fast runner. Its head is also a lot skinnier than a T-Rex head would be, and its teeth are a lot smaller, but they're also more blade-like. So whereas T-Rex was probably an ambush predator, it kind of would have waited and then jumped out on its prey. Like, that would be terrifying if you were a dinosaur. But our Albertosaurus was probably chasing down prey. It was probably hunting prey and then chasing them down and attacking them. So this is, even though it's only about 60% the size of a T-Rex, this was our biggest predator from this period of time. So Albertosaurus lived about 72 million years ago. T-Rex lived about 66 million years ago. So there's actually about 10 million years that separates the two species. But Albertosaurus, as I mentioned, was our biggest predator from this time in northern Alberta. So pretty terrifying creature. We think these animals may actually have lived and worked in packs. So there's a site in southern Alberta, another bone bed, it's in a place called the Dry Island Buffalo Jump Provincial Park. And we have an entire pack of Albertosaurus preserved, so lots of different individuals. So we think these might have been pack animals as well. So we've talked about the Pachyrhinosaurs, we've talked about the Albertosaurs. Now I want to show you another group of really important dinosaurs from here in northern Alberta, and that is our duckbill dinosaurs. So these guys here are all duckbill dinosaurs. So there's a whole bunch of different kinds of duckbill dinosaurs, and there's a few species that we get here in northern Alberta. Our most common species is this guy here. This is called an Edmontosaurus. So just like Albertosaurus is named after the province of Alberta, Edmontosaurus is named after the city of Edmonton. There's no Calgary. But the Edmontosaurus is one of the largest duckbill dinosaurs that ever lived, including the species that we find here. We do have a bone bed from northern Alberta where we get duckbill dinosaurs that were as long as school buses. So these are huge, huge dinosaurs. We also get this kind of dinosaur here. This is called a Corythosaur. And if you notice, the Corythosaur has this big head crest on the top of its head, like a big pompadour. And the Edmontosaurus doesn't have one of those. So the duckbill dinosaurs are split into two groups. We have crested hadrosaurs that have that head crest, and we have crestless hadrosaurs that don't have that head crest. So here in northern Alberta, we get both kinds of dinosaurs. This little guy here is one of my favorites. So this is not an adult. This is a kind of like a teenager dinosaur. This is a Corythosaurus. And it's about, this kind of dinosaur would probably get maybe twice as big as an adult. The reason that we have a teenager dinosaur is we have another bone bed from here in northern Alberta where all we find is teenage Corythosaurs. It's the entire bone bed is just teenage dinosaurs. And so that sort of tells us a little bit about the biology of these animals. We think that maybe they kind of grew up in a little herd, and then when they got to a certain age, they got kicked out of the herd and they had to go and make their own little herds. And as they're going to do that, they sort of wander around in these packs of young animals. So in this particular case, that little herd of young animals unfortunately met a demise. Something happened to them that basically wiped out that whole little herd. Again, terrible day for the dinosaurs, but a really great day for paleontologists. Let's go around the corner here. There's another little duckbill dinosaur I want to show you here. So this little guy here, isn't it absolutely adorable? This is a hatchling duckbill dinosaur. So this is a dinosaur that is probably maybe just a month old or so. It's just recently hatched out of its egg. And another very cool fossil site we have here in northern Alberta, we have a site that just has these little bitty baby dinosaurs. So we think that's actually a nesting site. So that's an area where the big adult duckbill dinosaurs may have gone to lay their eggs, and where these little dinosaurs would have grown up until they were big enough to kind of move around with the adults. So just like the pachyrhinosaurs, here in northern Alberta, we find adult duckbill dinosaurs, we find teenage duckbill dinosaurs, and we find little tiny baby duckbill dinosaurs as well. So this is a really great place to be a paleontologist. We find a whole lot of different kind of dinosaurs. So there's one more thing I want to show you in our gallery. So what I've been showing you so far are skeletons, or what we paleontologists call body fossils. So basically the remains of dinosaur bones and teeth. But there's another really cool kind of dinosaur fossil we find here in Alberta, and that is footprints. So let's go take a look at some of our footprints. So footprints are something that we find a lot here in this part of Alberta. And footprints, they come in two forms. You can get dinosaur footprints that are impressions, where you can actually put your hand into the hole in the ground where the dinosaur stepped. That's what we call a negative impression. But sometimes in the fossil record, those holes get filled in with sand. The sand hardens into a sandstone, and then it basically, the footprint itself dissolves, but you get kind of the sand infill. So that's what we call a positive impression. So you can get footprints that are either impressions or raised mounds. So these two footprints that I'm going to show you here are two that are found from right here near Wembley on the Wapiti River. So this one here is a Tyrannosaur footprint. So again, probably an Albertosaurus. And the really neat thing about this is that if you look closely, it actually has skin impressions. So the impression of the skin where the animal would have put its foot down. And then if we go around the corner, we have the footprint of a duckbill dinosaur. So this is probably something like an Edmontosaurus, and this footprint also has skin impressions on the bottom. So these footprints are really cool. A lot of time we find isolated footprints, so just kind of one here and one over here. But if we're really lucky, we get a trackway. So that's a series of tracks of the dinosaurs. That's really cool to find, because from a trackway, you can tell how fast an animal was moving. You can tell the direction it was going. And if you have multiple trackways in one place, you can tell what kind of dinosaurs move together. So sometimes we find duckbill dinosaur tracks, and then we also find little carnivorous dinosaur tracks alongside them. So maybe those carnivorous dinosaurs were actually tracking the big dinosaurs. We don't really know, but footprints are a really great way to study dinosaur behavior. And speaking of dinosaurs, I think we have a dinosaur over here. Oh my goodness! There's a Albertosaurus. So sometimes we get visited by actual dinosaurs. So this is an Albertosaurus who sometimes comes to join us when we're having popular events. But fortunately, we don't have to feed any children to him today. I think he's just had breakfast.
Lucky.
All right, so with that, I just want to make sure we have lots of time for questions. So if we've got questions, that's great. There's a whole bunch of other stuff too I can show you, but let's just take a couple questions right now.
We'll dive in with our Kahoot to begin, and then we'll dive in with the Q&A. First, a huge thank you, Dr. Bamforth. That was so cool, and your dinosaur friend is still behind you on the catwalk. That's hilarious. Guys, like, it's such a cool opportunity to walk through the museum. You guys have so many cool fossils, and again, I can't wait for all our Q&A with our classes. You guys can get ready and start sharing those questions in the chat. If you're on YouTube, our live classes will come to you all in a minute. But first, we are going to test some understanding and some general dino info, and what I'm going to do is bring up our Kahoot to do just that. Dr. Bamforth, if you want to help us out with any of our questions here, you're welcome to chime in and give us a little hint, but there's so many of you in our Kahoot already, which is awesome. For those who are new to Kahoot, the faster you answer, the more points you get. And what you win is Emily and I's everlasting respect, which is pretty cool. It doesn't happen very often that you get that chance. So we're going to let you guys pour in, and then we are going to get underway. Our Cochrane crew, Whitebrought, you guys are going to be first when we do our questions. So put those thinking caps on, and let's get started on some dino questions. All right. Here we go. Da-da. All right, 3, 2, 1, our drum roll. And our first question is, people have been around for about 300,000 years. How long did dinosaurs rule the earth? Was it also 300,000 years? Was it a million years? Was it 18 million years? Or was it over 180 million years? What do we think? Get those answers in and pick what we think. How long were dinosaurs hanging around on our planet? All right. The answer is the final one. It is over 180 million years. So you got that. Nicely done. That was our most popular answer. Way, way longer than us. Bold Duck has our lead. Keep that duck in mind as we go to our second question, which is true or false? Birds are dinosaurs. We didn't address this in the talk. Got a picture of our chicken here. Emily, any thoughts you want to give to our kids about birds being dinosaurs?
Oh yeah, so birds and dinosaurs have a really important relationship. So not to give the answer away, but a lot of what we know about dinosaurs comes from studying modern birds.
And most of our audience were hit the nail on the head. I can tell you, if we had done this quiz 20 years ago when I was in school, it would have been the exact opposite. This is something that, like, we've built up the evidence for this tremendously in the last few decades, and you cannot find a paleontologist that will not say that birds and dinosaurs share all the skeletal features. We know that birds came from dinosaurs. It's a really, really exciting relationship. They were the big survivors of the impact that wiped out our bigger dinosaurs that we've been featuring today. So, quick camel lead. 2 more questions to go, and then we're going to our Cochrane crew for our first question. All right, which of these can we find as fossils? Full body skeletons, footprints, fossil poop, or dino DNA encrusted in mosquitoes trapped in amber? The theme of Jurassic Park. What do we think? It's more than one of these. It could be all of them. It could be 2. It could be 3. We did cover a few of them throughout today's broadcast. What do we think? What can we find as fossils? So the first 3 are all correct. We have skeletons. We've seen those today. Footprints. We talked about those. All of you got that right. That's awesome. And fossil poo is actually a really interesting thing that we find, not just for dinosaurs, but all sorts of extinct creatures. It's called coprolites. It's a whole separate area of study within paleontology. Now that takes us to our final question with the smallest lead we've ever had going into the final of just 2 points. Our question is, Alberta dinosaurs are the biggest animals ever found on Earth. True or false? Now, Emily, Alberta dinosaurs are very big. We've covered quite a few of them today. Are they the biggest animals ever? What do we think? I don't know. I did this one as a trick for all of you. So, most of you got this right, and it's false. The blue whale, like the blue whale alive right now, is bigger than any dinosaur that ever existed. That's not to diminish dinosaurs. Dinosaurs rock. But I'm really glad to always feature that when we have dino broadcasts, that whales are pretty spectacular. And just check them out too, maybe on our YouTube channel. All right, our final tally. Quick Camel is our winner. So if you did play along, thank you so much, everybody. And as Emily said, we're going to do it like an epically long Q&A. We've got 20 minutes together. So our White Rock crew, come on in, unmute your mic, and take us away with our first dino question. Hello, folks. Hi. Let's see. Large, unmute, and you're good to go. YouTubers, you can start sharing as well. Please do. Let's see. Oh. Hi, White Rock.
Here we go. Okay.
Here we go.
How about Sadie, baby? Okay, Sadie has a question here for us.
Hi, Sadie. Come on up.
How many dinosaurs have you just put on display?
Ooh.
How many dinosaurs do we have on display here at our museum?
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now we have 8 species of dinosaur on display here. We probably have another 5 or 6 that are back in our collections. One of the fun things about being a paleontologist is when you go in and collect things, you don't always know what species you're dealing with. You actually have to bring them back to your lab and prepare all of those specimens before you really know what species you're dealing with. So we could have more than we know about. So at the next segment a little later today, we're going to be going back into the lab and see some of the preparation work being done. But right here in our gallery, we have 8 species in this region of Alberta. We currently have 11 species that we know about. There's probably way more that we haven't found. And we could have some of those unknown species already in our lab that are waiting to be prepared.
We actually had a great question that leads right into this. So I'm going to go straight to our Mrs. Clark's class. If you want to unmute, you can, but I can also just share it. But oh, there we are. Come on in. Yes. Share from Wesley. I want to hear this live. Hello. Your audio isn't working. So this is perfect. We get to see you and say hi. That's okay. So Wesley, great question, man. He wanted to know how many types of dinosaurs are there in the whole world? Great question.
Oh, really, really good question. So there are actually over 200 species of dinosaurs that are known. The vast majority of them we never hear about. But roughly on average, there's about 25 new species of dinosaurs that are named every single year. So some of those species are valid. They kind of go into the annals of paleontology. Some of them, other paleontologists look at and are like, I don't know if that's a new species or not, and they kind of debate it a little bit. But there are many, many, many species of dinosaurs. And so every single year, we're kind of adding to that total. And it's a common misconception that most dinosaurs were named a long time ago. In fact, the vast majority of dinosaur species, over 60%, have been named in the last 20 years or so.
Which is crazy. And so I want to harp on two things from this. One is that this is like the golden age of dinosaur discovery. Particularly China right now is having a lot of incredible fossils being found. North Africa has been a huge hub for fossil research as well. So we are finding incredible things all over the planet as we're exploring in new places. So if you want to be a paleontologist like Dr. Bamforth, now is the best time ever to do that. And also I like to harp on this because you mentioned we're in the few hundreds, of dinosaur species that we found. And on Earth right now, there's over 2 million species. Now, what that means is not that there were almost no dinosaurs. It means that there are so many more dinosaurs to discover than we have never found. This fossilization is really, really hard. We'll cover that in our broadcast right after this when we're going into the behind the scenes area too. But if you're keen to find new dinosaur species, you can go and do that anytime now. Every time we have paleontologists go to the field, they find new species, which is mind-blowing. So Wesley, great question to lead us to that. Thank you so much, man. Mr. McGill's class, Thunder Bay, we're going to head to you guys 6'7". If you want to come up and ask a question, you are good to go. Hey, guys. Hello.
How come some dinosaurs have feathers and some don't?
Great question. Yeah. Amazing questions. The question was, why do some dinosaurs have feathers and some don't? So that's a really good question. So the dinosaurs that we know for sure had feathers were those small bipedal carnivorous dinosaurs, what paleontologists call theropods. So theropods are the group of dinosaurs that are most closely related to birds. And we know they have feathers because we have fossils of these dinosaurs with feathers on them. But the way that we understand kind of the family trees of animals, it's kind of a fancy term that we call phylogeny. So we understand that if this dinosaur over here has feathers, and his cousin over here has feathers, and his cousin over here has feathers, all of the dinosaurs that are related to those three dinosaurs are also going to have feathers. So if you think of three cousins that have feathers, the grandparents also have to have feathers. So we believe that most theropods, again, bipedal carnivorous dinosaurs, had feathers at some point in their life. So things like really big carnivorous dinosaurs like T-Rex, we don't know if they had feathers as adults, but we do believe that they had feathers as babies, probably for insulation. Of course, those dinosaurs, a lot of them are too big to fly, so they're not using those feathers for flight. They're probably using them for display. So the same way that peacocks can use feathers, that's what we think a lot of dinosaurs use feathers for.
And I love go ahead, sorry, keep talking.
Oh yeah, so I was gonna say the other group of dinosaurs, which are what we call the bird dinosaurs. Some of those we actually think even the bird-hip dinosaurs may have had feathers as well. So not quite fully fledged feathers like we think of in birds, but like little quills and little spikes. So we think that most dinosaurs at some point in their life actually did have feathers. So feathers actually evolved really early in kind of the dinosaur bird lineage, basically family tree.
Super cool. I also love your demonstration for feathers every time you say it. So thank you very much for that in my day. It makes me very happy. And again, this is fairly new research. Like when I was a kid, we were just finding feathers on dinosaurs, and it was mind-blowing. And now we find so many with feathers. We've even found where we can understand the color of some of the feathers, which is absolutely insane research. So like, it's the golden age of dino discovery. I can't stress that enough. If you're keen, this is the best time to ever get involved. Live classes, I'm coming to you all in a minute. We're going to do a whole second round after this because we've got tons of time. Because Emily, you are a wicked awesome Q&A answerer. But I want to head to Windsor, Mr. Bode's class on YouTube. They want to know, has anyone found footprints of a T-Rex?
Yes, so it's really actually quite difficult to link a footprint with a species of dinosaur. The reason being is that footprints and dinosaur bones don't preserve in the same kind of environments. So how we identify footprints, they actually get their own species name. For example, there's one called tetrapus, which literally means 4 toes. So tetrapus is a kind of species of footprint. And then paleontologists kind of look at it and they're like, well, what kind of dinosaur that was around at this time would have made a footprint that looked like that? So we do have theropod carnivorous dinosaur footprints from around the time that T-Rex was around. And when T-Rex was around, they only sort of lived here in North America. T-Rex was the only large carnivorous dinosaur that lived in its time period. So we know if we find large theropod footprints from that time period that they probably belong to T-Rex. We don't know for sure, but that's our hypothesis. So kind of yes and no. We do have footprints that we can ascribe to T-Rex, but we don't know 100% that they actually belong to T-Rex and not some unknown or undiscovered species yet.
I've never heard that story before. That's so cool. Thank you so much for that. How neat. Oh, all right. Let's head to our Crawford crew. Come on in and unmute your mic is unmuted. Come on in and share a question with us. Hey guys. Hi.
My question is, do you ever put any like water dinosaurs on display?
Yes. Oh, really good question. Let's take a look up at our ceiling here.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, yeah, look at that.
So this guy up here, this is a mosasaur. It's kind of like a swimming kimono dragon. Actually, we have a mural on it on the wall over here. We can show you. That's a mosasaur. So we do get those kind of marine reptiles. Fun fact, these creatures are actually not dinosaurs. They lived at the same time as dinosaurs, but they actually belong to a different group of reptiles. So we have our mosasaur. Also on our ceiling up here, we have the really long-necked plesiosaur. These are kind of like the Loch Ness Monster kind of dinosaurs. So we also do find those. They're more common down in southern Alberta, but we do find them occasionally up here in northern Alberta as well. Of course, they're marine animals, so you need to find rocks that were deposited when the seaway was kind of covering this area. But we do find them here, yes.
Very cool. And I love that we highlighted the seaway. So I want to stress for our kids, the way the continent looks now, the way the world looks now was radically different during dinosaur times. And in fact, changed a lot over the 180 million years that they were around. I really encourage you, look at pictures of what the Earth used to look like in the dinosaur era.
We actually have a map over here.
Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right here. Yep. And so this is what North America would have looked like when our dinosaurs and our marine reptiles were around. We are right there, back in the Cretaceous period. So we're, again, right on the edge of the seaway. But this seaway basically covered the middle of North America for most of the Cretaceous. So on this side, we find dinosaurs. In the ocean, we find marine reptiles. And on this side, the eastern side, we don't really know what's being found because the glaciers came in and scraped off all of the dinosaur-bearing rocks on this side. Kind of sad. But we do think there were dinosaurs here. We just don't really know what they were. So our best dinosaur record is actually on the west part here.
Fascinating. I've actually never heard that either. I know about the glaciation, but that's a really neat story. Sad for paleontologists, but fascinating. Oh, all right. We're going to head to our Westview crew. Come on in and take us away with a question. Hey, guys.
How do you get the dinosaur footprints into the museum?
Ooh, yes.
How do we get them in?
Yeah.
Oh, really good question. And so the thing with dinosaurs is that most of them are actually really big. So as paleontologists, we actually have to deal with moving really heavy things out of the ground into our museum. So there's a couple of different ways that we do that. So the 2 footprints that I showed you over here, each of those probably weighs about 150 pounds or so. though that's light enough that maybe 2 or 3 people can actually carry it out of the field. Sometimes what we do is we have a tarp, like a tarpaulin. We put the fossil on, and then we make a little stretcher for it, and we'll kind of carry it out of the field that way. That's how we got these ones out. If our fossils are really big, we have to get more creative. So it was September, just a couple months ago, we collected a really, really huge fossil field jacket. It was a skull of a dinosaur. So that we needed a shop crane, like the kind of thing that they use to kind of lift car engines up and down when they're in the shop. That's the sort of thing we had to use for that specimen. And if we have a really huge jacket, or if we're in a really remote place, like not close to a road or anything, we have to use a helicopter. So we have to get really creative about how we move things from the field where we find them into our museum here.
I just shared a picture of you guys with the giant field jacket and lifting it up with a little crane, and it's just so neat. Like, getting fossils from the field is one of the coolest stories. And again, for our kids, we're going to be doing a bit of a behind the scenes tour in the broadcast right after this, which will be on our YouTube channel. So if you want to follow up with some more, there's some extra opportunity to have some cool discoveries. So thanks for the question, Westview. We're going to head to Miss Lou's class, and then we're going to do a whole other round, a rapid fire round in our final 6 or 7 minutes together. But come on in and Milton, guys. Hey.
If everything died, why did the fish not die and we still have fish today?
Great question.
Yeah. So I think that question sort of refers to the dinosaur mass extinction, right?
Yes.
So dinosaurs, with the exception of birds, all other dinosaurs went extinct about 66 million years ago. It was the 6th mass extinction in Earth's history. It wiped out not only the dinosaurs, but also our flying reptiles, things like our pterosaurs. It killed the marine reptiles, and it wiped out about 65% of plant and animal life on the planet. So we now know that extinction was probably caused by a meteorite impact that kind of struck the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. And that sort of caused all of the dinosaur ecosystems to collapse. And so all of the dinosaurs basically weren't able to survive. But you're right, there were some things that did survive the extinction, our own ancestors among them. That's why we're here today. So generally speaking, to survive a mass extinction, if you want to file this away for future reference, you have to be small. So generally kind of the size of a German Shepherd or smaller. Really helpful if you live either underground or in the water. So a lot of fish survive because they're in the water. We think crocodiles survived because they were in the water. Turtles actually did really well in the extinction. There's only, from here in North America, only one species of turtle actually goes extinct. The rest kind of carry on after the extinction. But of course, turtles live either in the mud or underground. They can kind of hide from the effects of the extinction. Being able to eat a whole bunch of different things is a really good thing to survive an extinction as well. So a lot of our dinosaurs are very specialized eaters. Probably ate just 1 or 2 or 3 kind of plants. Our big carnivorous dinosaurs specialized on herbivorous dinosaurs, probably didn't eat much other than that. So they didn't do very well when their food sources disappeared. But things like the little rodents, little like kind of mice-like things, they could eat seeds, they could eat plants, they could eat like other dead animals, they could eat insects. So because they could eat a whole bunch of different things, they actually survived the extinction as well and didn't starve. So there's a couple of things that make survivors in mass extinction, but a lot of it also just has to do with luck. So mass extinctions are, they're sad, but they're also super cool for paleontologists.
And they're great for us because without the mass extinctions, we probably wouldn't be here being awesome walking around a dino museum. So there you go. Dr. Bamforth, for your team, just because there is only 5 minutes to go in the broadcast and I want to make sure everyone has the chance, what I'm going to do is encourage our classes, please do write down additional questions. If you have more you want to know about dinosaurs, send them to us at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. All your teachers have our email, and we'll take as many more after the fact as we possibly can. And so what I want to do to wrap up, and I hope your audio is working because it's a little finicky just right now, is there any last message you want to leave us with about the museum, about paleontology, before we bring in all the classes to say a big thank you and farewell?
Yeah, so of course I would encourage everyone to come and visit us if you can up here in Wembley, Alberta, Phillip J. Currie Dinosaur Museum. If you come visit in the winter, we have amazing programs here in the museum. If you come in the summer, you can do cool things like visit us in our bone bed. We can also take you on a raft down the Wapiti River and show you some of the cool fossil sites along the way. And just generally speaking, paleontology is a really cool science. Now is a very cool time to get into it. Dinosaurs are a really, really hot topic, but paleontology is not just dinosaurs. Paleontologists study all kinds of other things as well. So if you are interested in life, in history, in rocks, this is a really cool science to get into.
I can't think of a better message to wrap up with than that. Get out there, explore, find more. I can pass along some cool dinosaur book recommendations, channels, and more. This has been so much fun. Emily and the whole Dino Museum team, including our unexpected dinosaur visitor midway. And so what we do to end every broadcast with the encouragement, please do write down those extra questions and send them to us. I'm going to bring in all our classes to say a big thank you and farewell. So Mr. McGill's class, our Weisbrock crew, Crawford crew, Westview, Mrs.